Primary 5 ENV Lesson number 2 Globes and Maps. Let's see what are the objectives of this lesson. Students will get the clear idea about globes and maps. Introducing map with the location, continents and oceans. Being able to identify the hemispheres, equator and poles. And also they can get to know about longitudes and latitudes. Then they will get a clear understanding about features of maps and globes. Children, can you tell me how can we identify places of the Earth's surface? Why do you think the Earth appears blue from space? For identifying the places of the Earth's surface, we need globes or maps. Both are representations of the real Earth at a manageable size. Let's learn more about globes and maps. Before this discovery, people believed that the Earth was flat. Astronomers believed that the Earth is something that is round or spherical in shape. The Earth is the only planet in the solar system that supports life. Its surface is covered with large land masses called continents and vast water bodies called oceans. The globe shows us how the Earth rotates on its axis. Advantages and disadvantages of globe. First, let's talk about advantages. Shows exact shape of the Earth. The shape of continents and oceans are shown accurately. The different physical features are also marked more or less accurately. Let's talk about disadvantages. Bulky and cannot be stored easily. It cannot show the details of landforms and location of small towns. It cannot provide details information about climate, vegetation, agriculture. Although larger globes show some details, they are difficult to carry and handle. A map is an essential tool of a geographer. It is a representation of Earth as whole or part of the Earth drawn on a flat surface. It can show continents, countries, cities, and even a local area with all details. Let's talk about advantages and disadvantages of maps. First, we'll talk about advantages. Maps are easier to use and easier to carry around. They can show the Earth's entire surface or just a small part. Let's see what are the disadvantages. All maps have distortions because it is impossible to represent a three-dimensional objects like the Earth accurately on flat maps. Maps with no scale gives a poor idea of distances. Maps with no legend are frequently confusing to the user. There are different types of maps. Some of them are political maps, physical maps, climatic maps, and tourist maps. First, let's discuss about political maps. A political map represents countries, states, and towns. That means they give us the location and details of places. Most often, they are painted different colors so we can see them better. Then, physical maps. Physical maps tells us about the physical features of a place. That means its mountains, valleys, plains and rivers. Let's discuss about climatic maps. They shows weather condition like temperature, pressure, wind direction and rainfall. Then tourist maps. A geographic map designed for tourists. The globe is divided into two halves by an imaginary line that is called the equator. The two halves are called the two hemispheres. The hemisphere above the equator on the globe is called the northern hemisphere, and the one below the equator is the southern hemisphere. The North Pole is the northernmost tip of the earth. The South Pole is the southernmost tip of the earth. The North Pole is marked at the topmost point on the globe, and South Pole in the bottommost point. Longitude is measured by imaginary lines that run around the earth vertically and meet at the north and south poles. These lines are known as meridians. The meridian that runs through Greenwich, England, is internationally accepted as the line of 0 degrees longitude or prime meridian. The prime meridian splits the globe into the western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. Longitude is related to latitude, the measurement of distance north or south of the equator. Lines of latitude are called parallels. They are horizontal lines. The names of the latitudes are Equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle. The lines of latitude are numbered from 0 degree at the equator to 90 degrees at the North Pole and 90 degrees at the South Pole. The latitudes run in the east-west direction. They are parallel to the equator. This picture shows latitudes on the globe. Equator is situated on the middle of the globe. Above the equator there are two latitudes. They are Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer. Below the equator also there are two latitudes. They are Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle. Maps and globes have many of the same features. They are directions, symbols, scales, titles and labels. We'll discuss one by one in next slides. This picture shows a compass. A compass is used to display the orientation of the cardinal directions north, east, south and west and their intermediate points. This picture shows one way to remember directions of the compass. Never eat slimy worms. From never, N, north. Eat, E, east. Slimy, S, south. Worms, W, west. Maps have symbols that stand for things drawn on a map. So these standard signs are used to indicate landmarks. Let's look at this picture. Post office. Post office is indicated as capital P dot, capital O dot. Railway station, capital R dot, capital S dot. Police station, capital P dot, capital S dot. Mountain peak, it is denoted by a triangle. And also road. Road is denoted by two lines. As well, hospital is denoted by a cross. Maps have scales. Scales are a way to measure distance. Map makers usually have to draw things smaller on their maps than they really are. For example, a scale can show how many miles are represented by a certain amount of space on the map. At this map, it shows 1 inch equal 4 miles. It means that every 4 miles distance between places is shown as 1 inch distance on the map. Map title is an element in a map layout that describes the theme or subject of a map. The map title should instantly give the viewer a good idea of what the map is depicting. The title of the map should depict applicable information for the intended audience depending on how well they know the subject before viewing the map. Map titles are often made up of 3 parts: the geographic name, the layer name, and the indicator name. Now you can provide answers to these questions. Let's see what are the questions. First one, what do you mean by globes and maps? Second one, state 2 advantages and disadvantages of maps. Third one, name 3 types of maps and describe them. Fourth one, what is prime meridian? Fifth one, globe divides into 2 hemispheres. Name them. Then describe the term longitude and latitude. Next question, name the latitudes of globe. Describe 2 features of maps and globes. Last question, what is the easiest way to remember 4 cardinal directions? In your textbook, there's an activity and also there's an exercise. Activity is in page number 18. Exercise is in page number 18 and 19. So you can provide the answers for those activities and exercises.